Hi, everyone. Welcome. I appreciate you being here. Looking forward to presenting some good content that's going to help you grow your business. Wanted to just introduce myself really quickly, along with my partner, Taylor Hill. That's me on the right there, Carter Harkins. We actually, about 3 years ago, actually it was longer than that, 4 years ago now, we started a podcast called The Blue Collar Proud Show. It was a podcast directly aimed at talking to home service businesses and contractors in the trades to share some of our experiences. But even more than that, it was about getting to hear the experiences of business owners and masters of business in every aspect of business and get a chance to interview them, to talk about exactly what makes a business successful, and to talk about how we can get more of what we want in our own businesses. And out of that, we discovered it was like a 3-year masterclass, a university degree, if you will, in business success. And truly, over 3 years and 150 episodes, we were able to talk with business leaders from all sorts of different trades to find out exactly what it was that was needed, what set apart business owners who were successful from the ones who were struggling. And the more we did that and talked with, I mean, we've been all over the country now talking to various groups and literally interviewing and talking with hundreds of people, talking in front of thousands, and hearing the comments when we would talk one-on-one with business owners about what they were struggling with, and then talking with business owners who had answers for those struggles, we begin to see real clear patterns emerge. People who were successful fell along certain lines. They all had certain commonalities, things in common, attitudes and mindsets that drove their success. And then we would talk with business owners who were struggling deeply with core, fundamental, foundational types of things in their business. We found that those business owners who were struggling also had a lot of commonalities and a lot of similar mindsets and a lot of similar attitudes about what the problems were in their business and what they could do about it. So for 3 years, we took the opportunity to dive deeply into success and struggle, and to contrast those two things. And in fact, the tagline of our entire show, every single episode, you can go back and listen to them. They're all free. You can find them at bcpshow.com. 3 years worth of the show, and every single episode, we ended it by saying, it takes the same blood, sweat, and tears to build a business that you hate, that feels like a ball and chain, that is robbing you of everything that matters in your life. The same blood, sweat, and tears to build that business as it does to build one that gives you everything you love, that is giving you a life that is something that you're proud of. It's giving you the things you want in life, and it's allowing you to be who you want to be all the way through that process. So what we want to share with you today in People, Process, and Profit, how to make the needle jump in your business, is quite simply, we've taken the 10 principles that we wrote about in our book and that we discovered during those 3 years, and we've distilled them even further into 3 specific areas, the big gears, if you will, of a successful service business. These are the gears that create success for the business owners who have been successful in growing a business that they're proud of. These are the gears that they pay attention to. Now, I don't know about you, but I love simplicity. I love complexity too, but I like taking complexity and trying to find the simple core essence of what makes something work. And these 3 gears, as Taylor and I have talked more and more, it's become obvious to us that when businesses focus on these 3 things in the way that we're going to be talking about them, you're going to find that this is going to drive your business. Now, just a real quick word here. We want you to send in questions. If you have questions about anything in this presentation, please make those questions known to the moderators of this so that we have a chance then to take those questions, to answer them, and provide thoughtful feedback about those things to you. One other note, Taylor and I love to bounce back and forth. I know he hasn't talked much yet because I tend to monopolize in the beginning, but once we get rolling, it's going to be like a conversation on our podcast where we're chewing on this good stuff together and really getting into the meat and potatoes of it as we go. So if you guys are ready, we're going to jump into that together and start presenting that. People, process, and profit. A quick definition of a business is a group of people engaged in a process which, if done well, creates a profit. So Taylor, tell us a little bit about what we've discovered as we've gone into this and what some of the lessons are that you've learned from your perspective.
So one of the things that people ask me a lot, because Carter doesn't normally start out with this, but we actually own a marketing company. So our podcast came out of this marketing company, and we wanted to find out why so many of our clients, we had a section of our clients that did great, and then we had a section of our clients that were really struggling, and we couldn't figure out as a marketing company why one set did so well, and we were doing the same thing for the other, but they weren't doing so well. That's where the podcast kind of came, started in essence. But what we found out and what we learned from there was really the base of how we ended up building our business. And so, here we were trying to find out some other things, and what we learned was far greater than anything I had anticipated in learning. But here's the thing that I do know. You can't be successful in your business as an island alone. So you have to understand that in order to grow and be successful, you will have to deal with people. That's number one. Number two, you're never going to be as successful as you can be without putting effective process in place. And that is those processes that make a really difference in your life. Okay. Those are the processes that no matter what's going on, work. And then if you're in business for any other reason than to make a profit, then you just need to go work for somebody else. Because if you're not making a profit, there's something wrong with the people in the process part. So you've got to make a profit. So those are really the three things that we found that really successful businesses, they don't question those things. They know those are the things they have to work on. I mean, it's the people in the process that produce the profit. So if you want a really good, sustainable profit, you have to have the people in the process in place. You can't get it any other way. I mean, I've not seen anybody that's been able to do it any other way. Have you?
No, and in fact, the successful companies that we've talked to that have kind of been a part of building this model of thinking about business success absolutely agree with what we're talking about here. They've looked at this and seen how we've distilled it and said, yep, that is absolutely the way that I think about my business. But it does start somewhere, right? You can't just jump in at profit, right? You have to start with a specific place, because if this one particular area that we're about to dive into right now isn't right, if it's not working well, if the gear is not meshing well with with everything else, then you're just simply it's a non-start. So that area, of course, is people. So let's talk about those three types of people that every successful business needs.
So I'm going to start out with just the leaders. I mean, here's the thing about leadership. There's a lot of guys out there that think, I own the business, I tell everybody what to do, therefore I be leader. That's the thing. You think that you're the leader. The reality is you may not be the leader. There may be somebody else in your business that is the leader, because somebody's leading. I guarantee you somebody's leading in your business. So what I've found, and what we found on the show, is that it's the effectiveness of being a leader. That's the key word. You have to be an effective leader, which means that you have to be the one that effects change. You have to be the one that effects process, that effects progress. If anybody else is doing that but you, then you're not the effective leader that you need to be of your team.
That isn't to say, though, that effective leaders create more leaders, right? You're giving people authority and power to be able to make decisions and to lead themselves and to lead others in your business. But you're the one who's effectively granting that to them. So that's the goal of business, is to replicate yourself at every level of your business to make sure that the problems that people encounter as they're going about doing their job, that they have the ability right there next to the problem to be able to bring a solution to it. That's effective leadership, right?
That's effective leadership. And depending on how big your company is, will depend on how many leaders you need to find to grow. I mean, that's just, sometimes you'll find a great leader and there's only two of you. But if you give that person the ability to make his own choices and to lead new people coming in, and those, you have grown up another leader. So, it's not just based on on you being effective, but it's also based on you being able to find effective leadership down the rung, if you will. So employees, you cannot grow without employees. I mean, you can if you're like one of these internet marketing guys and you're just a sole proprietor or whatever. You can do whatever that. But as a contractor, you're limited by time. So you're just trading your hours for time. So in order to build a growing business, you have to have employees, but you need to have productive employees. So that means that hiring some of the things that are really important on getting those really good productive employees, you absolutely have to go the extra mile to be able to do. So having productive employees with your effective leadership follows and actually brings to bear contagious customers. A lot of times people think that they want the contagious customers first, and they're putting the horse before the cart, if you will, or the cart before the horse. I do that all the time. You've got to have great leadership, productive employees that are happy and healthy and love the business they're in, and that leads to contagious customers. It's really, really interesting how that works, because so many people think you have to have those contagious customers first, but the reality is your business breeds contagious customers by your leadership and the employees.
Yeah. So there's an order to this, right? Effective leadership creates productive employees, and then happy productive employees create contagious customers. Let's talk then about creating and becoming effective leaders. One of the things that I know, we heard this over and over and over again with the effective leaders that we talked to about their businesses, and the thought leaders that, the authors and the speakers and the coaches in the industries that we serve. And they all talked about effective leadership, starting with one specific thing, and that was mindset. A growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. A growth mindset is that idea of, I don't know everything that I need to know, but I know that if I apply myself, I can learn what I need to know. And the fixed mindset being, nothing changes, no matter what I do, people don't change, I can't change, I just got to work with what I've got, and I'm limited, I'm fixed. And the people with a growth mindset ultimately went on to become much more effective at what they did. And the number one thing that we saw reported by effective leaders was the number one way that they became more effective, the number one way that they grew was by reading. I mean, of all of the things that you can think of that a leader would tell you is the most important thing that they spend their time doing, you wouldn't think that reading would be it. But over and over and over again, time and again, reading was reported by effective leaders as the number one activity that they engaged in. They made time for it. They blocked out time to make sure that they could read. And you're going to see that as a theme as we go along. What are they reading, right? I mean, an effective leader spends time reading. What is it they're reading? We want to share with you some of the things that they told us that they were reading.
Well, one of the interesting things about that is this. If you engage with anybody over time, what you'll find is one of the very first questions they ask when they see you again is, hey, what are you reading? It's amazing. I mean, some of these guys that we've had on podcasts, I don't see them for a year and a half. And then I get on Facebook or something, they're going, hey, man, what are you reading? And it's like you exchange that. So it's fantastic. So if you discount the power of reading, and I will tell you, I don't read as much as I listen to, but Audible is a fantastic invention in my world. I listen to a ton of books. So if you're not reading and you're running down the road, Audible is a great way to be. And I'm going to let you talk about Turn the Ship Around.
This is written by a commander in the U.S. Navy, a captain, in fact. And he had been on a ship. Things weren't going well. He had actually he'd been more or less fired from his commission on that particular vessel and reassigned to the worst performing ship in the entire U.S. Navy, the entire fleet. It was a submarine, in fact, and it was the worst crew, the worst performing boat. The boat had more problems on it than, I mean, it was not in well-run condition. It wasn't well kept, as you can imagine, if you've got a crew that was being rated as the worst performing crew in the U.S. Navy. So what kind of leader do you have to be to get that assignment, right? You either got to be a really crappy leader or you've got to be a really good leader. And only time is going to tell whether David Marquette was going to be the former or the latter. But the entire book is the story of how he encountered this crew and decided, you know what, everything I've done as a leader up to this point has not been effective, which means if I continue to do the same things expecting a different result, right, like the old saying goes, then I'm nuts. So he decided in a radical move to try a completely different style of leadership. Not just a different style, but for the Navy, because the Navy is very much, every branch of the military is very much do it by the book. And he was literally throwing out the book and saying, I'm going to do it my way. And because I'm at the bottom here, and this is the worst performing crew, if I can't turn this boat around and turn this into a success, I'm done. My career is over. So he literally risked everything, chose a totally different style of leadership, and he took the worst performing boat and the worst performing crew and turned that boat and that crew into the top performing boat and crew. And the book here, Turn the Ship Around, is the story of how he did it. And it is literally a blueprint for how to take a business that you don't love, that you hate, one that you've created that is just robbing you of peace and joy and happiness in every area, and how to take that business and turn it around to become something that you are so proud of and that gives you everything you want in life. So I highly recommend this book. Many of the leaders who were effective that we talked about and recommended this book were business owners who had grown it wrong the first time and then had to reinvent their business and reinvent themselves as effective leaders. And this was the book they said that helped them get there.
On top of that, I would say John Maxwell's 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership is another one that we heard over and over again. The thing about leadership is not all of us have the same leadership skills. And so understanding the leadership skills, the 21 laws of leadership, helps you kind of be able to pick other people in your organization that may not be your strong point, but you need in your business. And it really does help you get a kind of a wide range view of what leadership really is and what it isn't, and what you need to help yourself. Because I'm one type of leader, Carter's another type of leader, and there are people in our business that sometimes I have to get a hold of him and say, I need you to talk to this person because they're going to take it from you different than they're going to take it from me because of our leadership styles. So it just helps you understand that so that you can navigate a little bit easier with your staff. The other one is how to win friends and influence people. Now you'll notice the biggest gear in this is people. Okay, that's a big gear in this. And we spend the majority of our time here on the people part, because without the people part, you're kind of stuck. Because if just, like I said before, if it's just you, you're going to be limited. So you've got to learn to be really good with people. I read Dale Carnegie's book about 25 years ago. About 7 years ago, one of our clients, who I highly respect, a mentor of mine, just asked me what I was reading. I told him I asked what he was reading. He said it was How to Win Friends and Influence People. And I said, oh, yeah, I read that book years ago. And he goes, dude, I read that book every year. And I said, why? And he goes, because every year I learn something different. And I recommend to everybody I know to read it every year. So since then, I either read it or listen to this book every single year. And it is amazing what you will retain after a while, because it is chock full of things that you really do need to know about people. So, you may be a plumber, HVAC, whatever it is you do, the reality is you're in the people business. So you need to have as much people education as you can get. And I highly recommend this book for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So the thing about effective leaders to remember is they put in the work and the effort and the time on themselves to become even more effective in the role that they're planning for. So you grow to a point and then you can't grow any further. And you've got to continue to invest in yourself to expand your capabilities so that you can grow your company to the next level. You plan for what you want to become. You don't live for what you've got right now. And that's one of the keys to growth mindset that we heard over and over with effective leaders.
Yeah, so let's talk about, happy employees. Everybody says, to have happy employees, what does that mean to have happy employees? Well, think about what makes you happy. To have a certain amount of security in what you do, right? You get up every day, you know what you're going to do. You've got clear goals, set things, out that you're going to do. I mean, there's a lot of this that just leads itself to happy employees. And having a good leader that understands how to lay all this out is a really good foundation to really have happy, productive employees.
So let's talk about that. That came up over and over again as well. Is good, effective leaders realize that happiness in a job was less about the kind of work that you're doing, and it was more about knowing how to do the work well. So taking pride in the job, being able to do it well, whistle while you work, if you will. That came from leadership. Leaders who took the time to make sure that employees knew exactly what needed to be done, communicated incredibly clearly and well and often about the tasks and the work and the standard to which it needed to be done, to make sure that every employee knew from the moment they arrived on the job until the moment they clocked out what was expected of them. That actually created happiness. And that may sound counterintuitive because a lot of people think that living under a lot of rules and prescribed, it's my way or the highway kind of style of leadership is going to lead to unhappiness and people who feel caged and chained and like slaves. Well, it turns out that you don't have to be my way or the highway. When I say jump, you say how high, command and control style of leadership. But you can still communicate very clearly what your expectations are and show them to a high degree of specificity exactly what needs to be done, how you expect it to be done, then to make sure that you are inspecting what you expect and show, to demonstrate exactly how much you care about this, that it is a priority for you. And the more you do that as a leader, the happier your employees get because they no longer have to guess what's important to you. They no longer have to wonder if you're going to just fly off the handle one day and be upset, and then the next day act like it's all blown over and nothing really matters anymore, and you just want to be good buddies with everybody. The clearer you are with those expectations and the more consistent your workplace is, the happier and more productive those employees are. Isn't that what you heard as well?
Oh man, I'm glad you said consistent because that's when I was just sitting here thinking consistency in leadership, consistency in your business, consistency in your mindset. That goes so far with employees because, even if you're, consistently kind of a curmudgeon, they know how to deal with that. I'm serious. People think to have happy employees, you have to be happy and entertain them. That's not what they're looking for. They're looking for something that they know when they go to work, they know how to deal with the things that come up and that they can be successful from the time they get to work, from the time they clock out every day. They know that they're going to be able to be successful in their business, in their job. They're going to be successful in whatever it is they do. And who wouldn't want that? It doesn't matter if you're 20 years old or if you're 60 years old. You want that consistency so that you can deal with things. And that's across the board. You read about parenting, you read about marriages, you read about all that. And so much of it has to do with being consistent. And it's just the same at your business.
Yeah, that routine. One of the things you mentioned, whether you're 20 or whether you're 60, people want the same thing. That was something we discovered too in talking with business owners about hiring. There's this pervasive attitude. We're going to get into this here in just a little bit. That I can't find good people because young people are just they want totally different things these days. And what we found is that no, they really don't. We talk about it in terms of culture as the 3 C's of culture. People want clear core values. That's the first C, clear core values. The second C is they want a compelling purpose. And then the third C is they want a challenging mission. People think that the kids today, millennials or whatever you want to call them, the people coming into the workforce right now, that they want it easy. They just want it handed to them. And what we found is that it's the exact opposite. They just want clear expectations. But man, they want hard work. They want something that's worthy of their time and attention, just like every other generation that's come before them. We're human beings. We thrive on challenge. We want a clear mission, a core values, purpose, and mission that help us understand what we're getting involved in. But man, if you can present something that is on the whole worthy of their time, they'll commit, and man, you'll get so much work out of them just by doing that. And we're going to talk more about that as we come. But that's part of what happiness looks like. It's spelling out not just saying, oh yeah, come to work for me and you'll have it easy. No, people don't sign up for that. People want a hard job. They just want to know clearly how can they succeed at that challenging work so that they can make you happy and feel fulfilled in the work that they do, feel successful and satisfied with the job that they've done at the end of the day. This is the myth that we've heard time and time again. In fact, we've done entire sessions on how to hire rockstar employees, just specifically because of this one myth that is so pervasive in the trades. I mean, Mike Rowe has talked about it, the skills gap. But yes, it's a real thing. I mean, Mike is right. There are fewer people now coming out of school ready to work in the trades than there've ever been. We bought into the lie that everybody should go to college, and it's just not true. Yet, here's the problem. If Mike succeeds at creating all of these new people coming out of high school and going into the trades, going into trade schools, and coming out and showing up at your business on day one for new employment, and they find out that they've got a burned out boss who is a command and control style leader who doesn't care about their prosperity and their interests and goals in life, what are they going to do? They're going to feel like they've been lied to. They're going to turn around, they're going to leave. And America only gets one shot at this, folks. America has only got one chance to attract into the workforce in the trades this set of young people. We got one try, and if we blow it, man, we're in real bad trouble. So this myth is something that Taylor and I are very interested in knocking down and exposing for what it is. Here's the truth. We need to stop believing that there are no good people that want to do this kind of work anymore, and we need to start investing in becoming the kinds of companies that good people historically have always wanted to work for. The reason nobody wants to work in the trades is because, and in some cases, trade businesses have earned this. It's that trade businesses no longer have the appeal as being the kind of place where someone can come to work and create a career for themselves to get everything they want in life. And that's just the sad truth. What we've got to do is start telling a different story. We've got to start becoming different companies. We've got to start showing the world and these young people that trades are the kinds of businesses where you can have a career, where you can raise a family and buy a house and drive a nice car and be a leader in your community and have everything that you want for the rest of your life and be able to retire at the end when your working career is over. You've got what you need to be able to retire, and this is the kind of industry and this is the kind of work that you can do, and we want you to come do it for us at our company because we've set a standard of excellence for that kind of work that no other company in our market can match. You start telling a story like that, friend, and this changes everything. You start realizing, because this is what we heard. When we talked with effective leaders in their businesses, this is what we heard. I have no shortage of good people who want to come work for my company. I've got a stack of resumes and applications on my desk that's half a foot tall, and they're all good, right? They're all worthy of coming to work here, and we know that any of them would be good employees. So we have no trouble at all finding good people. And we talk to struggling businesses, and what's the story? Now, maybe it's one you're familiar with, maybe not, but it's, there's no good people left. Nobody wants to do this kind of work anymore. Well, guess what? Whether you think there are good people or you think there aren't good people, it's like Henry Ford said, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Mindset dictates the success that you're going to have in attracting good people. And when you believe that there's plenty of good people out there, you're going to have no trouble finding them. But when you're the kind of company that good people want to work for, your job in finding them becomes easy. When we started focusing on becoming the kind of company we wanted to be, people started lining up. Good people, qualified people, talented people started lining up to come work with us because they saw how interested we were in creating that kind of environment for them to prosper and to get everything they wanted in their life as well. It's a powerful principle, and I want to make sure that you understand it. Taylor, what do you have to add to that?
So the only thing that I would add to that is understand that it doesn't matter if you're a roofing company, HVAC, plumbing, chimney sweep, masonry. I don't care what kind of company you are. I mean, right now we're at 14.7% unemployment. When we first did this, it was 3.5% unemployment. Those companies, we know people in those companies that had absolutely zero problem hiring at any time. They had no problem firing anybody because they knew they could replace them at any point. They were companies that people were clamoring to work at 3.5% unemployment. So just understand, mindset is that powerful. It is that powerful. And if there's one thing that you can do for you right now is get that mindset right. Very important. Spend the time and effort to do that.
Absolutely. So just a couple more books real quick, a few more books that were recommended to us by leaders who are running effective companies. with happy and productive employees. These were the books they recommended. Beyond Entrepreneurship, I talked a little bit about the 3 C's of culture. We adapted that after a process that we went through that was described in this first book, Beyond Entrepreneurship by James Collins. James Collins, you might also know him as Jim Collins from Good to Great. He wrote that book as well, but way before he was Jim Collins of Good to Great, he was the author of this book, Beyond Entrepreneurship. I specifically want to call your attention to chapter 2. Okay, this is the chapter where he talks about setting vision for your company, which includes core values, purpose, and mission. And he prescribes a specific process that you can take your team through rather than just going away as the owner of the company and then, on a retreat and writing up your core values, your purpose, and your mission statement, and then coming down like Moses from the mountaintops with the tablets and saying, okay, everyone, get with this program. This is what we're going to do. He's like, no, forget that. Do it this way. Involve your people. Get them to sign on to helping you create your core values as a company based on the shared personal core values of every employee, the ones they came to work with before they ever started. So, use those as the basis of your core values. And then from there, build a compelling purpose. And then from there, figure out what a challenging mission is that all of you agree is the place we want to get to and start growing that business toward that thing. So that's what Beyond Entrepreneurship is about. The Happiness Advantage was a big time shift for me. And the people that recommended it to me said, this is why. It's basically this. We have always believed that success is what leads us to have more happiness in life. That when we're successful first, then we're going to have more happiness. And this book says we've got it completely backwards. It's the opposite. It's that when we are happier, we're going to be more successful. When we are happy first, and we spend time making sure that our lives are built in a way that lead to happiness, we can then take that energy that comes from that happiness and that positivity and put it into a highly productive and more successful outcome. So it's a great book. Sean, I've gotten the chance to know Sean a little bit and I've worked with him some too, and I can absolutely recommend his book. It's going to change your mind about what success looks like and why happiness is the ingredient that leads there.
Well, and then I'm going to throw in How to Win Friends and Influence People. Now, why would I do that? Again, because I want to stress your employees are people. Last time I looked, they're people just like you. Please, please, please read this book. That's all I'm going to say.
Now we're to the contagious part, which, say what you will, it's still the right word, I think. When we talk about contagious customers, we mean customers who have had such an incredible experience with you that they cannot help spreading you to everybody that they meet. Malcolm Gladwell, in a book called The Turning Point, calls it the sneezers. Okay, these are the people. The tipping point. Sorry, thank you. Talks about the sneezers. These are the people that just broadcast you to everybody they know because you've done such an amazing job at getting it right and making them happy. That's a contagious customer.
And one of the things about contagious customers, I mentioned this before, business owners that aren't enlightened yet, I would say yet, don't understand that what really brings on those contagious customers are happy employees. Because it's the employees that are going out to the homes and basically representing the company. So if you go out and you send somebody that's representing your company and they hit the door and they are complaining about your company, complaining about you, complaining about the work, it's too hot, it's this, they don't have this, they don't have insurance, they don't, all the stuff that people, talk to and talk about, then all of a sudden the customer is like, why did I hire these people? But on the flip side, if they're out talking about what a great boss they have, what a great company this is to work for, the benefits they've had, they'll never do anything else, they love their job, then the customer says, oh my gosh, did I make a great decision? This is the greatest thing. Do you have a card? Do you have a leave behind magnet? I want to make sure that you are my company. And then when they have that great experience and that person leaves, your employee leaves, then they're on social media. They're talking to their kids, their parents, their whoever, neighbors. All of a sudden, man, you're the company. That's what a contagious customer is. And it is so directly related to those happy employees. So you got to have the happy employees first. The other thing I think it's really interesting that people say, well, I don't know if I have contagious customers or not. Well, it's pretty easy to find out. Just look at your reviews. If you're actively looking and paying attention to the reviews that you get online. Do a survey. Easy to do simple surveys online. Call the customer, find out all those things you're really good at, and then find out some things that maybe you're struggling with. Talk about the things you're good at while you're fixing the ones that you're struggling with, until you can talk about all of it. So, I mean, it's just that simple, but it's not easy. Does that make sense?
So as marketers, one of the things that we know is that it's about 7 times more expensive, and these days, especially in plumbing, this is even, it can be up to 9 or 10 times more expensive to get a new customer as it is to keep an existing happy customer. So once you've won the right to serve a customer and you've done a good job and you now have a customer who's loyal, don't take that loyalty for granted. Continue to communicate, continue investing in keeping those happy customers as repeat customers and giving them opportunities to share you with others. Do that, and you've got the nucleus of some of the least expensive kinds of marketing that you could ever do. And not only the least expensive, but some of the most effective marketing. Referral marketing is by far, we've grown one business doing nothing but referral marketing. And in that process, the reason or the way that we did it was just by hitting home run after home run after home run and providing a service that they could not get from anyone else. And they rewarded us by helping us grow our business and bringing us referrals. And that's an incredibly powerful thing to keep in mind here.
Oh, yeah. And we're going to talk about some books here. Raving Fans is a great book. If you've never read it, I'm going to highly recommend that you read it, because it talks about some really good ways of getting those contagious customers, those raving fans that talk about nothing but you. And then again, there's that doggone Dale Carnegie book right there. Why is that? Well, it's because your customers happen to be people too. And if you can influence them, if you can win them as friends, hey, they will be contagious customers.
Absolutely.
Pretty simple.
That's not a typo. That title belongs there as well. Okay, let's switch gears now. We're going to switch from talking about people. We're going to start talking about process. This is the next phase, right? When you have a group of people and they're organized around, they're in lockstep with one another. They know they're the reason that they're a part of your company, and they know what it takes to stay in your company and do a good job. Now you need to hand them tools and the processes that they're going to be implementing to make your company work and make it so easy to run, because these processes are so well defined and so bulletproof that your job as the leader of the company effectively becomes easier. Getting there can be a challenge, because implementing processes and defining those processes is a lot of work. But once they're defined and working well, they can serve you for years. So we talk about you cannot measure what you do not define, and then you cannot improve what you do not measure, and finally you cannot grow what you do not improve. So this is where process, this is the rubber meets the road. This is the operations of the business in some key areas. So let's talk about what that looks like and how to make sure, just a quick one question that's going to help you clarify exactly how to make your processes better. So here we go. First thing is the myth that I don't need processes. I've tried processes, they didn't work. We hear different versions of this, right? But ultimately what it comes down to is, well, we tried writing up a bunch of SOPs, but when things get crazy and everybody's running in a million different directions, nobody really follows those anyway, so I just don't see the point, right? So maybe you said something similar. I can just imagine in my head people nodding their heads, because when we presented this in real rooms with real people sitting in real chairs, everybody was nodding their head like, yeah, when it gets crazy, the SOPs are the first thing to go. But I want to challenge you with that. The military creates SOPs, and they drill on those SOPs, and they pound them into everyone's head. They make sure that everybody knows the SOP cold, by memorization if necessary, so that when the bullets start flying, when the chaos comes in the heat of the battle, you know that the guy sitting next to you or standing next to you knows exactly how to do what he needs to do to save your life, and vice versa. Those SOPs are necessary not for the good times. They're necessary for the crazy times. And so I want to just challenge you. The reason processes may not have worked in your business yet is because you have not drilled and trained to them to the level that you need to make it a part of the institutional thinking of your company.
To me, I look at it as, driver's ed. So when you're a driver and you're first starting out and you get in that car and you have to think, I got to put the in the drive, I've got to make sure this. You're thinking through everything. Well, you get to be my age, man. I go from here to there, and I don't even remember how I got there. It's just become a natural process of driving, and I'm a good driver. I mean, I'm not zoned out. I mean, I'm paying attention, but I get there, I don't even think about, brake, accelerator, because I've done it so much. And that's the difference about putting a really good process in place. You have to drill on it and do it over and over and over again until it just becomes second nature. And then when it's crazy, you're just doing it.
Don't just write the SOPs and hand a thick manual to your employee on day one of their job and say, learn all of this and do it, right? And we'll train you as you go with these things, but this is it. What they found is that the way to get buy-in on the way we do things here, the processes of how we do our job at our company, is to invite every employee to write those SOPs themselves and to improve the existing SOPs to make them even better. Make it part of their job description. Invite them to contribute at a high level to help you create SOPs, because let me tell you, when they create the SOPs themselves, they're already bought in. They already believe this is the best way to do it because it came from up here in my own head, right? And I don't come up with bad ideas, do I? So therefore, I created the right way to do this job, and I described it thoroughly, and this is what we're going to do. And by gosh, people are going to do it my way because I took the time to write that SOP for my coworkers, and I'm going to make sure that they do it this way, right? So you're building in that enforcement of those SOPs, and it truly works. Not only that, but it provides so much more job satisfaction for employees because they know they've been invited to be a part of creating the actual inner workings of the company, and you can't get more bought in than that.
So what are the processes we're looking at? There's 5 really big business processes. So marketing, sales, operations, accounting, and human resources. Most people think of processes strictly as operations. It's amazing. Most people, that's the only thing they think about is operations. The other thing that so many companies do is they blend the marketing and the sales together because there's so many places that have marketing and sales departments. The reality is marketing is totally different from sales. Marketing is that branding, awareness of who you are, and bringing you opportunities. Once those opportunities come into your sales department, at that point, what do you do with the opportunity? Are you scheduling an appointment? Are you making a sale? Whatever it is, those are the opportunities that come in from your marketing. Your sales department actually does the selling, whether that's selling against an actual product, service, or an appointment. Accounting. So many people just kind of discount the accounting as that's that other thing they do. I've got a bookkeeper and that's what she does or he does. Human resources is your hiring process. Human resources is any kind of benefit that you ever offer. Those are really, really important things. If something happens in your business, if OSHA comes in, those are all human resource driven. So somebody's got to be paying attention to your human resources. So all 5 of these are extremely important pieces in your business that you have to think of collectively as the process, but also independently as their own entity within that process.
We talked about the importance of trying to figure out how to define processes for each one of these. And you can just take marketing off the shelf and look at it and go, okay, let's just look at our marketing processes and make sure that these are tight, and that's good. But then you need to see, how does marketing fit with sales? Where does that handoff occur? Because those in between, those places where the gears mesh, that's where a lot of the waste ends up happening in most businesses. And the goal of process, right? The goal of thinking better about process to improve it, to define it, measure it, improve it, and grow it, is to get really good at understanding where the waste is. So here it is. Here's the magic question I told you would lead to more effective processes, defining, measuring, improving, and growing. The question is this: in each one of these big five processes in my business, where is the waste occurring? Okay? That's the question. Where is the waste occurring in these 5? So let me explain what I mean. In marketing, we spend a lot of money to marketing companies like ours that bring in leads. And then once we get those leads, or first of all, just, in the process of getting a lead, how many people that could be a possible lead when they come to our website end up not being a lead because we've done a lousy job of creating a good functional website? Well, there's a lot there. There's waste there, right? We're spending a lot of money to get people's eyes on our website. If it's not a good one, if it's not performing and converting well, we're losing opportunities. That's waste. It makes every lead that we do get that much more expensive. So then once we've got the leads and they make a phone call to the office, are the CSRs that answer the phone following a process to make sure that they're booking as many of those opportunities as they can? Because if they're losing opportunities they don't need to lose because they don't have a process for booking calls and they're not following that process as well as they could, or it needs to be improved, you're losing opportunities there too. So you can do that. Go through the entire customer journey through your business, from where they first heard about you to the sales process of when you come out and do the job and estimate the process and then follow up and then you actually do the work, the operations side of it, how that's done and how well it's done. The waste that occurs in operations is probably the part of it that you guys have heard the most about, right? It's when you leave the ladder back at the warehouse, or it's when I don't have the right parts in stock and I have to drive across town to a vendor to pick up from their supply house, to finish the job. Those are areas where there's a lot of time waste, a lot of money and resources that get wasted in operations, and you're probably very familiar with operating lean and creating processes in your business around that. But accounting, there's places where there's awful waste in accounting. And in fact, let me say this, if you don't have highly prescribed processes for the people who touch your books, I guarantee you're running the risk of embezzlement and people stealing from you, or just simply not caring about making sure that every dollar in your business coming in and going out is accounted for. There's huge waste that can be done there if you're not describing processes and making sure that you hold the people in your accounting accountable for the job that they do. And then human resources too. Are we missing good opportunities to hire the best people in our market simply because we haven't taken the time to describe really good hiring processes in our business? How do we find good people? Where do we go looking for them? How do we go and recruit, actively look for people who maybe they aren't looking for a job, but if I gave them a good opportunity, they might jump ship and come work for me? Where are the opportunities there that are creating waste? Why are good people going to work for my competitors instead of coming here to work for me? And what processes can I put in place to capture more of the good people for my benefit in my company rather than someone else's? That's how you think about this, okay? That one question, where's the waste, will lead you to more fruitful discoveries and places for tightening the bolts than almost any other question I know of.
So just as a side note here, one of our clients just recently hired somebody, and this is what he told them. He said, I want you to tighten all the bolts, figure out all the waste, all the way through my business, and I will give you 10% of anything that you find, whatever you save, you'll get. And he got a $100,000 bonus in 2019. So just think about that. $1 million in waste found in one business.
It's not an uncommon story either, is it?
Yeah.
Effective SOPs. This book is all about how to write SOPs that people will actually follow and how to get people bought into the idea that the SOP is the best way to do it. And so I recommend this book. It's really well written, and it'll give you a guideline for step-by-step how to make sure that you're creating SOPs that people will actually follow.
And the E-Myth is written by Michael Gerber. It is, I would say, the best book and should be one of the first books any business owner actually reads. And you just can't go wrong with reading the E-Myth and understanding the transition to be from technician to manager to owner. I mean, this is just, it's a basic business book that everybody should read. And then Geo Wickman, that wrote Traction, is kind of the next step up from the E-Myth. So I would say read the E-Myth first. Traction is the second one you want to read. It's for a little bit bigger companies, but it's some great, great value. So we're going to go into profit. Now, one of the things I will tell you about profit is so many companies feel like profit is what is left over. And I'm here to tell you profit is something you can plan for. I just worked with a company, $5 million a year company, no profit since they've gotten started. We tweaked a little, just a few things that I'm going to talk about here, just tweaked and made some different choices. It's totally changed their business. So you have to optimize for profit. You got to plan for profit, and then you got to plan on keeping it. You've got to actively say, as a business owner, my intent every year is to make X amount of dollars or X amount percentage. I actually like percentages better when it comes to profit, because there's this idea that all you got to do is sell more. You don't. You can sell more and spend more at the same time, and you're still not profitable. So you have to plan for profits.
One of the things that we heard over and over and over again from successful business owners that had figured out the profit piece, you need to quit talking about revenue. I mean, revenue is nothing but a measure of size. Profit is a measure of success. And he said, I never talked about revenue ever again. He said, profit is all I care about in my business. I don't care if I'm a $5 million company or a $50 million company. If I can't be profitable at either one of those, and I'd rather be profitable with a $5 million company making 15% than have a $50 million company making 1.5% profit. So, all I've done is explode my headaches. That's the power of profit, is you can be a company that is ideal for you, that you enjoy running, and still have something to walk away with at the end of it. And that's a powerful principle.
The other thing about profit, that there's so many companies that want to, they want to build a company, then they think they get, 65, 70 years old, and they're just going to sell their company. You can't sell a company that doesn't have a good profit. I mean, that's one of the marketable things about a company. In fact, you've got to have all three of these things: people, process, and profit, to be a company that is a good sellable company. And we know so many businesses that have gotten to a point that they've said, hey, I'm going to sell, and they can't, because they don't have those three things in place. Because profit is something that you need to show year in. I mean, every year you need to show that profit. So here's one of the books that I highly, highly recommend. It's something that we follow in our business, Profit First. I know a ton of other businesses that have started doing this, and it is fantastic, because it's kind of like the old envelope system, if you will. I'm really simplifying right now, but it's the envelope system that I grew up with. My dad would give me X amount of dollars for allowance, and I would put in each envelope what I need: gas, entertainment, all this different stuff that I would do, and then that's what I would spend for the month. It's kind of the same thing in banking. Highly recommend you read this book first. If you are a contractor that does job costing, then I would tell you, absolutely, once you finish that book, read Sean Van Dyke's Profit First for Contractors. It is a book that is blessed, if you will, by Michael. I can't ever say his last name. It's one of those names. McAllowitz. Yeah, thank you. He's blessed it, and it's a great thing for people with job costing. It really, really helps you. But you get to choose, going right out of the box, what you want your profit margin to be. And then you work your business around your profit. It's not the old whatever's left over. You're saying, no, I'm not settling for leftovers. I'm not going to settle for leftovers. I'm going to take what I want off the top.
Absolutely. The last book is Built to Sell by John Warlow. He was actually a guest on our show. This is the only book I think that we're making a recommendation of. It was somebody that's been on our show, but if you want to check that out, it's episode 43 on our podcast. You can find that at bcpshow.com. John talked about the danger in believing that you have a business that you can sell. When you're done running it, you want to retire, you can just sell the business and live off the sale of your business for your retirement. He says, I've seen way too many. The reason I wrote this book is because I see way too many businesses get to the day to sell it, only to realize that there's nobody that wants to buy it, and I'm certainly not going to get what I thought it was worth. And it's a scary proposition if that's the position you're in, thinking that your retirement is going to be the day you sell your business, only to find out that the only thing people are interested in are trucks, ladders, real estate, and maybe they'll chip in another $10,000 for your customer list. I want you to grow your business in a way that gives you a really nice exit. And you can do that in a way, if you build it in a way to sell it one day, even if you never plan to sell it, you build it to sell it, and it will have intrinsic value because you've invested in people, you've invested in processes, and you have profit. Do that, and it's gonna change your exit completely. Okay, one other book we want to recommend, and this is at the end here. The book that we wrote, Blue Collar Proud, 10 Principles for Building a Kickass Business You Love. This was something that we did as a labor of love, And you can buy it on Amazon if you want the paperback version or the Kindle book. But if you just like a downloadable PDF of this book, the knowledge in this book, these 10 principles that we've been discussing even during this presentation, are a bedrock solid foundation for starting toward building the business that you love. It takes the same blood, sweat, and tears to build one you hate as it does to build a business you love. We want you to take that blood, sweat, and tears and do it in a way that gives you the business that you love. So we want to make this book available to you absolutely free of charge. You can get it as a downloadable PDF at the link on the screen. This is something that we've done, and our company, the companies that we own, Smart Marketer and Closing Commander, have generously allowed for us the budget to be able to just give these away for you and not have to depend on income coming from our book. So that's just our gift to you for being involved in this presentation. Taylor, is there anything else you'd like to add as a parting shot?
I just want to remind everybody, ask questions. We're happy to answer. If you'd like to have more information about either of our businesses, Smart Marketer or Closing Commander, smartmarketer.com, closingcommander.com, check us out. We'd love to have a conversation with you, and we hope that you've enjoyed this. And more than anything, we hope that this helps you build the business of your dreams.
Absolutely. Thanks, everyone.